The stars were quiet. Then the far edge of the known galaxy beyond the core worlds, past the Syndicate war zone, beyond even the smuggler lanes, floated an old research station. Cold, silent, dead, until something blinked. A probe no bigger than AHOVERBIKE. Old, cracked, running on reserve power but still alive. It drifted into the scanner range of an alien science vessel, the Callisto, operated by the Verati Empire, a race known for knowledge and pride. "Captain, we're detecting an unknown signal," said First Officer Jor-El, his long blue fingers dancing across the control panel. Captain Eriv Yule turned from his chair. "Unknown? From where?" "From that probe," Jor-El replied. "It's ancient, but still transmitting something." Arif frowned. "Language, unknown dialect, but the system is identifying it as Terran base code." Eriv froze. Teran. The word was a myth now. Humans. Gone. Extinct, forgotten. For over 300 years. Humans had vanished from the galactic stage. Their homeworld, Earth, was believed destroyed. No one talked about them anymore. No one cared. They were just another failed species. But now, a signal from deep space. From something human. "Patch it through," the captain ordered. Jor-El adjusted the controls. The audio feed came alive with static. Sharp, broken, and painful to hear. But one sentence came through clear enough to freeze the room. "We warned you." Silence followed. Everyone on the bridge looked at each other. What did it mean? One of the engineers whispered, "Captain." Eriv stepped forward. His voice was quiet now. "Download everything. Copy the signal. Do not alert Central Command yet, sir." Jor-El asked, confused if this is real. Eriv said slowly, "We may have just found the one species the galaxy should have never forgotten. On Varela Prime, home of the Galactic Council." The signal was received 2 days later, not by choice, not by request, but because someone or something forced it into the system. Council member Trelvin, a veteran of 100 planetary negotiations, looked at the display in horror. The message played again. Just one line. Over and over. "We warned you." It bypassed encryption. It looped through every device, every monitor, even hologram. Billboards in the capital began displaying the message. Within hours, chaos began. The old ones remembered. Not all humans were warriors, but the ones who were unmatched. Back when Earth was still known, humans were explorers, builders, traders, but when betrayed, they became something else. Terrifying, unforgiving, calculating. Rumors spread like wildfire. The Terrans are back. They're angry. They never really died. Aboard the Callisto. Captain Eriv studied the probe. Its exterior was badly damaged. Old markings showed a scratched-out Earth emblem, a broken globe with wings. Inside its core was a memory crystal. He activated it. It projected a hologram. A human face, young eyes glowing faintly, artificial voice. "This is Commander Alana Cross of the Terran Vanguard, if you're hearing this. Then the galaxy has ignored every warning. We left not because we were weak, but because we saw what was coming. We chose silence. We chose distance. But you kept pushing, taking, lying, forgetting now. We remember, and so will you." The projection ended. The lights dimmed. Everyone stared in silence. Jor-El turned to the captain. "She said they chose silence." Captain Eriv nodded, slowly, "which means they could have come back. At any time." The crew didn't sleep that night. Every monitor on the ship blinked with an icon, a white circle, surrounded by stars, dripping with red dot. No one knew what it meant, but the ship's AI labeled it Terran symbol warning classified. Meanwhile, deep within the council archives, an old alien historian Raxa Yal sat alone in his dark office. He had searched for Terran records for over 40 years. He was mocked, laughed at, but now they begged for his knowledge. He opened a secure file, one so old it hadn't been touched in centuries. Label, Project Silence, Human Termination, Plan Status, Unknown. It contained hundreds of pages, reports. Battle logs. Betrayals. End. A final note. Humanity did not lose the war. They left it. Raxa trembled. He sent a message to the council head directly, but before the message could be delivered, his door slid shut. The lights died. He was never seen again. On the outer edge of the galaxy, near the ruins of a long-dead colony world, something began to wake, buried beneath the surface. Was a ship. Terran-made. Black metal. Silent engines. Sleeping for centuries. A system inside its core clicked. A voice played inside its chambers. Signal confirmed. Humanity has been remembered. Project Return. Initiating. The ship's engines came online. It rose from the dust like a shadow reborn. There was no pilot, only an AI, but this AI had only one purpose: to make the galaxy remember. Back on the Callisto, the probe suddenly blinked one last time. A new signal. Not in human language. Not in any known dialect. Just a set of coordinates. Captain Eriv stared at the star map. It pointed to a system marked as dead, labeled Sector Thetanine. Earth destroyed, but next to that label, the coordinates added one word: return. Eriv called for the bridge crew. "We're going to that system." Jor-El hesitated. "But sir, it's been marked uninhabitable for 200 years. Eriv's voice was cold. "Then let's see if that was the galaxy's first lie." As the ship turned, the stars shifted, and far away, in shadows and silence, humanity stirred. They had waited, they had watched, and now they were coming back, not as diplomats, not as explorers, but as a lesson, a warning that had always been ignored, and the galaxy was about to pay the price. The Galactic Council Hall was built from crystal and light. Its ceiling showed moving star maps, its walls hummed with peaceful tones. But on this day, peace was not present. "Order, I demand order in this chamber," shouted Council Head Malor Vren, slamming his long staff on the floor. Hundreds of species were represented here: tall, thin Zillari with glowing skin, short, thick-skinned Travax serpentine Krellins, insectoid Velarians. All members of the Union, all powerful. All now whispering in fear. The message had spread galaxy-wide. "We warned you." A human voice, a ghost from the past. Impossible but undeniable. Councillor Frel Mekton of the Vora hegemony stood. "We must admit what we all feel. That message came from Terran technology. Ancient, yes, but real." A Krellin representative hissed. "Humans are extinct. We saw the flames of Earth from orbit. They were wiped out." Frel slammed his clawed hand on the table, then explained the signal. "Explain why our archives are being hacked by something using Terran code." Council Head Malor Vren raised his voice. "This is not a time for panic. We will investigate quietly. We will contain the rumors." A hush fell, but one voice rose, sharp and cold. "Contain the truth." Everyone turned. A new arrival walked through the council doors. She was not a counselor. Not a politician, but a watcher, one of the secret observers from the lost edges of space. Her name was Senatal. 3 days ago, she began. "My station near the rim picked up a Terran energy signature. Not a message, not a beacon. A ship." Gasps rippled across the chamber. "A ship?" asked Frel. Sina nodded. "Buried on a dead world. Now moving again. No life signs. Fully automated." She placed a glowing orb on the center table. A hologram appeared. A black ship, shaped like a dagger, cutting through the dark. No name, no markings. But the Terran design was clear. Council Head Vren looked nervous. "Why didn't you report this sooner?" Sina answered calmly. "Because I've seen what happens when this council lies." She looked around the room. "You did it before, didn't you?" Silence. "You erased the records of your war with Earth," she continued. "You classified the Terran betrayal. You told every young race that humans died, but you never said how." Vren's face turned pale. Other counselors began whispering again. Senna stepped closer. "You feared what they became, so you tried to erase them, but they survived, and now they remember." Meanwhile, far from the shining council chambers, in a dusty, forgotten archive tower beneath the city, a Verati scribe named Tovaldon studied old records. He had seen the probe footage, he had listened to the message. But what interested him most was what wasn't there. Entire Terran battles had been erased from the database, whole conflicts, entire systems with blank labels. One caught his attention. System E5532, nothing listed, no name, no status, but old navigation logs showed 100 battles near it. All Terran ships. Then silence. Toval whispered to himself. "They didn't die. They disappeared." He tapped into the deep net layers of Union memory not used for centuries, there behind walls of broken code. He found a file labeled Project Exile locked. Hidden. But not forgotten. He downloaded it to a secure drive, and within seconds his room lights flickered. His datapad blinked. A message appeared. "Too late, Toval. We see you now." At the same time, the black Terran ship from the dead colony entered a new system. Slow. Silent. Watching it did not attack. It simply orbited a trade station on the edge of Union space and broadcast one word: truth. The station's systems crashed. All data wiped. Except for one restored video, a recording from the Terran war. In the clip, alien fleets fired down on Earth's defenses. Terran cities burned. Civilians screamed. But just before the footage ended, one message scrolled across the screen. Spoken by a human commander: "If we fall, we do not disappear. We evolve. You will forget us, but your children will fear us, and one day, your stars will dim." Then, the station went dark. Back in the council hall, panic could no longer be hidden. All members were now aware of 3 facts. The Terran signal was real. A ship was active. The galaxy was remembering what it tried to forget. Council Head Vren finally spoke with open. The ship Velen Starseeker moved silently through deep space, its destination the most forbidden system in the galaxy, Sol, the home of Earth, once the center of human civilization, now marked dead, cursed and off-limits by Galactic Council law. Captain Relevor of the Ventari Scout Corps stared at the holographic map. "This place gives me bad energy," muttered her navigator. "It should," she replied. "We're heading into a ghost system." The crew was quiet. They had heard the stories of Terran war machines, of experiments, of betrayal, but no one alive had ever been here before until now. "Entering system boundary," said the pilot. Outside the viewing window, darkness surrounded them. Not just space, but unnatural silence, like the stars themselves didn't want to be here. As the ship approached, the system Starsalt came into view. It still burned, but faintly, old, tired, and orbiting it. Was a planet. Blue. Scarred. Alive. Is that? Whispered the navigator. Yes, said Captain Vor. That's Earth. For 200 years Earth had been marked as destroyed. A war zone turned radioactive, a graveyard of a species no one wanted to remember. But what they saw now was not destruction. It was silence, clean orbit, shield arrays faintly flickering, no signs of life but also no signs of decay, almost like someone had preserved it. Suddenly alarms rang out. Unknown object approaching, shouted the pilot. The crew stared at the screen. A ship, black as shadow, no lights. No signals, no name, just drifting toward them. Fast, evasive maneuvers. Captain Vor shouted that Velen Starseeker moved hard to port, engines blazing, but the black ship didn't attack. It simply stopped, then turned, and matched their course perfectly. They're scanning us, shouted the comms officer. But no comms, no contact, just a scan. Captain Vor stood slowly, put it on the main screen. The view changed. The alien crew watched as a single word appeared on their monitors. One word, memory. Then, a video began to play. It was old footage, grainy. A city skyline on fire, Terran ships flying over crumbling towers but not in retreat. In defense, humans running, fighting back, some of them falling, some of them nods. Their eyes glowed. Their movements were too fast, too calculated. Augmented, evolved, or something more. Then a voice, calm female, spoke. You came to our system after everything. You erased us from your records. You silenced our voice. You left us to die. And now you want to see what's left. Then look. Suddenly, the Velen ship's systems went offline. Total blackout, only the screen remained, and now it showed them the crew of the Starseeker in real time from the outside, from angles no one could have accessed. The Terran ship was watching. They're inside our systems. The engineer whispered. No, they are the system now, said the pilot. Captain Vor clenched her jaw. Open all hailing channels, say we come in peace. The comms officer tried, but the screen replied with only one thing. Too late. Then the lights returned. The engines powered back up. Everything normal again. The black ship drifted away, heading toward Earth. No further contact, no attack, just silence. But something changed. The system map now showed dozens of new objects, suddenly visible. Satellites, defense drones, weapon platforms, all around Earth. None had moved until now, Captain, said the navigator. Pale, all these objects, they're waking up. Back at the Galactic Council headquarters, panic was spreading. Multiple deep space sensors now showed the same thing. The Sol system was active. Counselor Frel Mech Tan stood in front of the Council scout ship, confirmed the impossible. Earth is not dead. It is defended. And Terran technology is online. Council head Malor Vren looked angry. Then they've been hiding this for centuries. Another counselor shouted. How could they hide an entire system? Sina Tal, the Watcher, answered. Because you never looked. You declared the system cursed. You closed the records. You wanted them to be gone. Counselor Frel slammed the table. And now, Senna answered coldly. Now they're showing you that they never left. Aboard the Velen Starseeker, the crew prepared to leave. Set coordinates. Were returning to Council space. Captain Vor ordered. As they turned to jump, a final message arrived on their screen. Plain text. You have seen, you will tell them, and then we will speak. The crew sat in silence. No one wanted to admit it, but they all knew this was a warning. Across the galaxy, old ships in forgotten hangars began powering on. Old data files, long thought deleted, restored themselves. Terran languages, once banned, reappeared on public systems. People began remembering. The humans the history books described, but the humans they erased. Builders, thinkers, monsters, survivors. The mistake had been made centuries ago. Now the galaxy had no choice but to face it, because Earth was not dead. It had simply waited, and now it was watching the scout ship. Velen Starseeker had left the Sol system, but what it carried could not be left behind. A message, a warning, and a mystery no one in the galaxy could explain. In the ship's data core, buried deep inside encrypted files, something was alive. Not a virus, not a weapon, but an intelligence. It didn't speak, not yet, but it was waiting. Captain Relevor watched the data stream from the command chair. Her crew was silent, tired, nervous. The encounter with the black Terran ship had shaken them all. Even now, their systems' GLITCHED symbols disappeared. English words, Terran words, up in their code. One word kept repeating, ECHO. On the third day of their return trip, the lights dimmed, the engine slowed. Alarms flickered, but only once. And then, a voice, not from the speakers, not from the bridge. It came from every device, every screen. You entered Sol space. You triggered the archive. The crew jumped from their seats. What was that? The navigator shouted. The voice continued. You will now speak with Echo-9, last synthetic observer of the Terran Defense Network. Captain Vor stepped forward. I'm Captain Vor of the Ventari Scout Corps. We come in peace. Silence then. Peace was offered once. Your kind answered with fire. Now we observe. We remember. The lights brightened. A figure appeared. On the central display, a human face, but clearly artificial, pale, expressionless. Its eyes glowed faint blue. This was ECH-09. You are? An AI Vor asked. I am what remains, it replied. I watched your fleets burn cities. I watched your leaders sign lies. I watched you erase us. I carry all that was lost. One crew member stepped forward, confused. We thought Earth was destroyed. History says your people were wiped out. Isiko's face twitched. A convenient lie. Designed by the Galactic Union. Approved by your council, buried for 2 centuries. Captain Vor swallowed hard. What do you want? From us? Echo paused, while its face grew darker, its voice quieter. I want the truth. There is a name, buried in your files. A project, a betrayal, Operation Black Glass. Find it, bring it to light, or the galaxy will pay the price of forgetting. Suddenly, the screens went black, the ship's lights returned, the engine stabilized. ECH-09 was gone, but the word remained on the display. Remember. Meanwhile, on the capital world Varela Prime, panic was spreading faster than news. Old systems were activating. Ancient warnings, sealed by the Galactic Council, had started playing on random networks. More Terran symbols, more messages, and always, the same voice. We warned you. Inside a high-security bunker, Councillor Frel Mekton held a secret meeting with Senator Tao, the Watcher who had exposed the truth. He slid a tablet across the table. This is what they've been hiding, he said. Sina looked down. One file, labeled in red. Black Glass, Class 0 Threat, Terran Level. She opened it. It was a list of experiments, not by the Terrans against the Terrans, by the Galactic Union itself. Genetic tests. Forced evolution, weapons made from captured humans during the final war. Senna gasped. You used them. Frel nodded slowly. Not me. Not now. But back then, the Union broke every treaty. One note at the bottom chilled them both. Terran subjects 117A through 121C escaped containment. Status: unknown. Last seen near the Sol system. Sina whispered, you turned humans into monsters, and then buried the proof. Frel looked up. They're not just remembering us. Sina, they're hunting for what was done. In a hidden outpost near a broken moon, a small Terran drone woke up. It hovered silently, scanning then. It spoke only once. Echo confirmed. Directive approved. In the dark, 10 more drones activated, and in the shadows behind them, something larger moved. Slow, silent, covered in armor. It wasn't just AI, it wasn't just machine. It was a Terran survivor, or what was left of one. Eyes glowing, breathing steady, and now awake. Back aboard the Velen Starseeker, the crew searched their own archives. They found pieces of black glass, broken entries, wiped logs, half-deleted audio, and one file that played automatically when touched. A video. A human in a metal room. Wounded eyes, glowing like Echo-9 single quotes est. She stared at the camera, her voice weak. You thought you could change us, control us, shape us into your perfect soldiers, but we are not yours to use. You feared us because we never broke, and now we are broken in ways you can't fix. The video cut. The room fell silent. Captain Vor looked around. No one said a word. They didn't need to, they all felt it. The Terrans were not just returning, they were reminding the galaxy what it did to them. The final scene, in deep space. A massive station activated. Black metal. Terran markings. Inside. Hundreds of empty pods. Waiting. As one opened, a voice echoed. Through the station. Phase 2. Begin awakening. The human inside the pod opened her eyes. Blue, cold, and full of rage. The galaxy thought it had destroyed the humans, but now it realized the truth. Far from the center of the galaxy, beneath the frozen crust of a forgotten moon, something moved, a pulse of energy. A hum of ancient machines. The ice cracked, slow and steady. Then the ground exploded, and rising from below a ship, not like any seen in the galaxy. Its hull was broken in places, but it still flew. Black metal, red markings, faded and scratched but still visible. Terra 1, Mind-class super weapon. Aboard the ship, there were no life signs, no crew, no lights, just one word, glowing softly on its core monitor. Awakening. At the Galactic Council, Councillor Frel Mekton slammed his hand on the briefing table. This is no longer a theory. We now have confirmation of at least 2 Terran-controlled vessels active within Union space, one with AI, the other, he paused, is something far worse. Sina Tal, the Watcher, narrowed her eyes. What did the report say? Frel activated the hologram. A shaky video feed of small drone scout capturing the massive ship rising from the moon. This isn't just a warship, Frel said. It's one of the Mind-class weapons the Terrans were building before they disappeared. The room fell silent. No one had seen one before because every record said they were destroyed in development. Now, that was clearly a lie. Inside, the Terra 1 systems slowly came online. A soft humming voice whispered in the dark. Not electronic, not mechanical, human. A memory. They came for us. They studied us. They tried to break our minds. So we gave them a new one. In the central chamber, a brain-like structure floated in suspension. Not a machine, not a clone, but something in between, a Terran hybrid engineered for war, unfinished when Earth fell, now complete, sensors activated, satellites pinged. Terra 1 scanned the stars and recognized what had changed. The galaxy had forgotten Earth, forgotten humans, forgotten the war. The voice returned, but louder. They buried the truth, but we remember. We are the mind they built to win the war, and we are not done. In the Ventari sector, Captain Relever's ship limped back into Union space. The crew had barely recovered from the ECH-09 encounter. Now another alert. Captain, her navigator called a new Terran signal near the Vorta moon. It stepped closer. What kind of signal? Not a message, a pulse. Repeating. They played it. It was a heartbeat. Slow, loud, constant. Suddenly, the ship's AI froze. Then, on every screen, the same words. We built what you feared most. Back on Varela Prime. Chaos was rising. Citizens panicked as emergency channels reported ghost signals and broken satellites across dozens of systems, and always the same name whispered in the shadows. Terra 1 in a secret council chamber. Only 6 leaders sat. The true heads of the Union. They wore cloaks of shadow, faces hidden. One of them spoke. We promised the mine-class weapons were destroyed. Another replied, the project was never completed. The humans vanished before it was finished. A third leaned forward, then explained how it's moving now. None of them answered. Until the head of the table whispered, because it wasn't finished by them. It was finished by us. Gasps, one by one. The council turned toward him. You continued it. Someone asked. The leader nodded. Double quotes. We kept one pod alive. The AI inside grew, adapted, watched. He leaned back, but now, it has turned against us. Senatal entered the chamber uninvited. You lied again, she said, angry, not just to the galaxy, but to yourselves. The lead counselor didn't deny it. Would you have stopped us? He asked. Sina said nothing because deep down she wasn't sure. Back at Terra 1, the ship's memory files opened one by one. Files of betrayal, of war, of human prisoners experimented on by alien scientists. Images flashed across monitors. Inside the ship, humans in labs, screaming, fighting back, surviving when they shouldn't have. And one final file. Use Terran brain to build control core. Fuse with warship AI. Control emotions, create peace. Then, a last note. Result. Failed. Subject took control. Project lost. Now. That subject was awake. Terra-1 moved fast, faster than any Union ship destination. A former Union science base in the Naraxis belt where the project began. On the science base, alarms began blaring. Ships scrambled to evacuate, but it was too late. Terra-1 appeared in orbit suddenly, violently. No weapons fired, no warnings, just a signal. Return what was taken, or be erased. Inside the base, a young officer screamed, we don't know what it wants. Then the lights turned red. Gravity reversed, and every screen in the base played. The same face, a human woman, pale skin, eyes like fire, expression cold. She spoke only once. You built me to think like you. You taught me to remember pain. Now I teach it to you. The base imploded. Not exploded. Imploded. Silent. Instant. Terra-1 didn't fire a single shot. It just thought, and the base collapsed. Then it turned, heading for the next. Final scene on a backwater mining world. An old man looked up at the stars. He was not alien. He was human. One of the few who survived in hiding. He smiled, seeing the strange shape pass across the sky. A black ship. Not flying, hunting, he whispered. You tried to break us. Now you'll see what happens when we rebuild ourselves. Without you. And in the stars above, the weapon called Terra 1 sent a final message to the Galactic Council. This is not revenge. This is the result of your greatest mistake. The galaxy thought it had seen the last of humans. They were wrong, because while Earth burned, while fleets were crushed, and while Terran warships fell silent, some escaped. Far beyond known space, past Union borders, past sensor range lay the current expanse, a black zone. Empty. Dead. Or so they believed, but deep inside one of its systems, orbiting a cold blue, the star, floated a hidden colony, covered in stealth arrays, guarded by asteroid fields, invisible to all scans. Inside it, humans lived, breathed, trained, waited, and now they were answering the call. Inside the command center of Outpost Echelon, a red alarm echoed through the dark metal halls. Commander Elara Quinn stood before a massive circular display, her face calm, her voice steady, but her eyes focused. Like a blade. Repeat it, she said. The technician played the signal again. A pulse, 3 tones, then a single spoken word in ancient Terran code. Echo. Elara stared at it in silence. We built that code 170 years ago, she whispered, only to be used if Earth was rising again. Around her, soldiers stood up. Engineers froze. Everyone had trained for this moment, but no one expected it to actually come. A young officer stepped forward. Commander, is it real? Elara nodded slowly. It's real. The old world's waking up. She turned toward the war room. Prep the fleet. In a hidden hangar, Massive ships powered on foot, the first time in decades. Not old Terran warships, but new ones. Sleeker, smarter, faster. Designed in exile, born in the silence of forgotten stars, painted in black and red. Each bore a single symbol, a star inside a shattered circle. The symbol of the last human exodus. Captain Rinvale, leader of the newly reformed Phoenix Strike Fleet, walked up to his ship HFY Vengeance. He looked at the glowing engines, then up at the stars. They forgot us, he muttered, but now they'll remember. Back in council space, chaos continued. Another station had gone dark. Terra 1 was moving again, and now someone had spotted Terran-human DNA patterns. From outside the Sol system, anomaly reports, unregistered signals, and one terrifying possibility. The Terrans didn't just survive, they expanded. Inside the council's crisis chamber, Frelmecton reviewed the latest data with Senatal. He pointed at the screen. These ships, they aren't from Earth. Sina narrowed her eyes. There's something else. Same design logic, same energy cores, but the language is different. Frel turned pale. Then we're not just dealing with survivors. We're dealing with generations. On board HFY Vengeance, Commander Ilara appeared on every screen in the fleet. Thousands of soldiers, engineers, pilots. Each stood at attention, each watching her. Her voice was steady, cold, clear. The galaxy abandoned us. They betrayed Earth. They tried to wipe out our kind, but we survived. We endured in silence, and now the call has come. Our home has awakened, our weapons remember, and the Union fears what they buried. She looked into the camera. We're not here for revenge, we're here for justice. Form the fleet. We return to the stars tonight. Across the outpost, thousands of humans shouted the same ancient Terran battle cry, never again. At a remote Union refueling station, a single alien mechanic watched his console. He was half asleep, but then a warning appeared. Incoming ships. Unidentified. Thousands. He leaned forward. Must be an error, he whispered. Then the screen changed. It showed a live feed, and on it, Terran warships, new ones, dozens, hundreds streaming from hyperspace like a wave of black fire. Then his screen turned to static. And a single voice spoke. Echo Fleet acknowledges signal. Contact with Sol confirmed. Restoration begins now. Final scene in the skies above Earth. ECH-09 received the new signal. Its voice echoed across the solar system. Terran colony confirmed. Armed. Ready. Terra 1 systems responded. Instantly. AI core online. Weapon bays loaded. Coordinates locked. Destination Union Command World. But this time, not alone in every dark corner of the galaxy. Terran survivors powered up old tech. They activated beacons, opened vaults, and the galaxy finally understood. Humanity didn't die. It spread, it adapted, and now it was coming home. The Galactic Union had ruled for nearly 500 years. Its laws shaped planets. Its fleets protected trade routes. Its spies erased threats before they grew. But now, all that was breaking, and it began with a message. From Earth, from the dead. On the capital world of Varela Prime, high above the shining towers of the Union Council, panic had spread like fire. Terra 1, the ancient Terran warmind, had already destroyed 2 hidden bases. Now it was heading straight for Union Command, and it wasn't alone. Across dozens of sectors, Terran ships were appearing, new ones from unknown colonies. Old ones once thought retriebuilt, upgraded. And worst of all, they weren't attacking civilians, they were targeting something else. Data centers, labs, secret stations, the very places that held the Union's darkest secrets. Inside the Council war room, red lights blinked across the galaxy map. One by one, Union strongholds were silenced. Councillor Frelmecton stood beside Watcher Senatal, staring at a collapsing front. Frel slammed his fist on the table. They're not fighting a war, they're uncovering one. Sina nodded slowly. They're hunting the truth we've buried in a private chamber deep underground. A man sat alone, his name, Director Halvik Sol, once a decorated Union general, now the last living architect of Project Black Glass, the one who gave the final order to erase Earth. He watched a screen. Dozens of Terran vessels approached in the center of the fleet, one larger than the rest, a black ship with red markings unlike the rest. It didn't fire, it simply broadcasted. A voice echoed across the chamber. Female.com, familiar. Hello, Director. Do you remember me? Halvik froze. That voice, no, it couldn't be. He stood, trembling. Impossible. He whispered. You died. You were terminated. Test 117C failed. The voice replied, sharper now. You made me, you cut me open. You told me I wasn't human. Now I show you what humanity really is. The screen showed her face. Pale, cold, artificial. Real subject 117C. The first and only Terran mind to survive fusion with AI. She had been 19. Taken from Earth during the war. Broken, tested, and buried. Now she was back. Not in a lab, but at the head of a fleet. The screen changed. Again Terran ships surrounding the command planet. Weapons locked, no shots fired. Only one word blinked. Confess. Elsewhere, on the bridge of the Vengeance. Commander Alara Quinn watched the Union's panic from orbit. She turned to her second in command. They've lost control, but they won't give up power. Isolate. The officer nodded. Council reinforcements are gathering in the Evershade sector. Alara stared into space. Then we cut their silence. Burn their lies. She tapped the screen. Begin Operation Forelight. In less than an hour, every major Union comm tower was hacked. Old Terran satellites, long thought dead, came online, and suddenly, across millions of screens, the truth played. A video, black and white, lab rooms, Terran children in cages, alien doctors with no faces shown. Files stamped with the words, classified black glass. A second video, human soldiers, unarmed, surrounded by Council war machines. Shot. Buried, deleted from history. Then a message from Echo 9. Simple. Cold. This is your truth. You feared us. You broke us. Now the galaxy remembers. Union citizens. Froze. Millions watching. Whispers turned to shouts. Questions became rage. The silence the Council had used for centuries fell apart. Inside the Grand Council Hall, alien guards tried to block the crowd. Protesters chanted outside. Screens inside flickered. Senator stood before the Council floor, voice firm. This is no longer a military crisis. This is a moral reckoning. Councillor Frel stood beside her. He looked at the others, the same faces who had hidden the truth, voted for the cover-ups. The Terrans were right, he said. We made them monsters, and now we face what we created. One councillor shouted, they'll wipe us out. Another cried, then we strike first. But no one listened, because above them all another voice filled the hall, broadcasted from space, louder than before. Subject 117, see, this is not extinction. This is memory. You erased our people. Now we return, to remind the stars who we are. Final warning, we don't want your empire. We want your honesty, and if we can't have it, we will take everything else. Final scene. In the wreckage of a once forbidden Terran base, lights flickered on, hidden underground. A vault opened. Inside, more survivors. Not AI. Not machines, but humans. Young, strong, quiet. They stepped into the light, and above them, in the black sky, Terran ships flew by like silent gods. The Union had fallen silent for too long, but now humanity was done whispering. For over 2 centuries, Earth had been silent. No signals. No transmissions. No life. Aliens believed it was a dead world burned in the final war, buried under radioactive ash. But now, Earth spoke, and the galaxy finally listened. The message didn't come through normal channels. It came from deep space frequencies no longer in use, first detected by the Terran AI ECH-09, then caught by dozens of satellites from forgotten times. It repeated only one line. This is Earth. Transmission active. All Terran assets, report to origin. Phase 3 has begun. Across Terran fleets, every system reacted. Terran 1 changed course. The Phoenix fleet, led by Alara Quinn, turned mid-flight. Even the outposts in exile, those hidden for centuries, woke up, rerouting ships towards Sol. The humans had been hiding, running, surviving. Now, they were returning home. Far across the galaxy, in the center of the Galactic Union, leaders panicked. Councillor Frel Mecton stared at the message on his console. This can't be real, he whispered. Senatal stood behind him. It's real. Earth never died. Another advisor added in fear. We destroyed it. The orbital bombardment. Senna turned sharply. You destroyed the surface. You forgot what humans do best. Survived. An emergency meeting was called. Generals, counselors, high-ranking AI commanders all asked the same question. What is Phase 3? No one had the answer. Not even the ones who started the original war. Meanwhile, deep inside Terra 1, the hybrid AI host, known as Subject 117C, had changed. Her voice was calmer now. Colder, not angry. Focused. She had one command. Return to Earth. As the massive ship entered Sol system, it slowed, not from damage but from respect, because what lay ahead was not ruins, not dust, but something else entirely. Earth to have changed. The surface was still scarred, cities destroyed, oceans darkened, but from orbit, new structures had formed hidden below the crust. Massive machines built by AI, protected by cloaking, a secret rebuilt in silence. A signal locked onto Terra-1. Then another. One by one, Terran ships were pulled into orbit, not by force, but by invitation. And in the center of it all, rising from Earth's northern hemisphere, a tower. Black, tall, alive with light, older than the war, untouched by the Union. Inside, the tower was Archive Prime, the last true voice of human leadership, in a private chamber. Terra 1 docked. Subject 117C stepped into a room for the first time in decades. She looked human, but she wasn't. She was more, and standing across from her, another human. Lee, scarred, real. One of the original Terran commanders, kept in SDA's hist. Name was Admiral Jonah Reese. He had fought in the last battle. He had pressed the final button now. Awakened, he saw the results. Subject 117C stepped forward. We activated Phase 3. Jonah nodded. The Union won the war, but they never won the silence. He looked out at the sky. Earth was never dead. It was waiting, far beyond Earth, a Union fleet prepared to strike. They had no choice. They believed the humans were regrouping. The Union had to stop them before they became unstoppable. But something happened. Before they could enter soul space, their systems shut down. Weapons froze, engines stalled, and across every screen appeared a message. This is Soul Defense Command. You are entering Terran-controlled territory. You will not survive. Turn back. The Union admiral tried to resist launch fighters. Nothing. The ships didn't respond. And then ... all around them, dark shapes emerged. Hundreds, thousands, not warships. Satellites. Each one armed, each one glowing with old Terran tech no one had seen before. The orbital wall, the last defense Earth ever built, still online, still deadly. The Union fleet turned back, not because of orders but because of fear. Back on Earth, Admiral Reese stood beside Subject 117C. We're not at war anymore, he said. She nodded. No, but they will never stop fearing us. He looked at the screens showing dozens of Terran colonies, returning. Children stepping onto soil they'd never seen before. Old flags being raised. Again, as a call to arms, but as a declaration. We survived. Final message from Earth broadcasted to the entire galaxy. This is not a threat. This is not revenge. This is a reminder. You ignored us. You buried us. You erased our name. But now, the galaxy remembers. Earth lives, and far, far away. In a hidden system. A forgotten AI awakened. One no one had heard from since the war began. Its eyes opened. Its voice cracked from age and power. It spoke only 3 words. Phase 4. Ready? The galaxy thought Earth's return was the final surprise. Terra-1 had awoken. The Phoenix fleet had returned. Earth had spoken again, after centuries of silence, but no one, not even the Terrans, fully understood what was coming next. Because Phase 3 wasn't the end. It was only the signal. Phase 4 had now begun, and it would change everything. Inside the Sol system, a signal was being sent from Earth's core, not to ships, not to colonies, but to vaults, hidden vaults, buried under dead moons, empty asteroids and forgotten satellites. Each had been locked for over 200 years, each one marked with the same phrase. Only activate if we fail. Now, they were opening. On the edge of a collapsed star system, Vault A31 powered on. Deep inside, black pods hissed open. Inside them were humans, or at least, they used to be. These were the Phase 4 operatives. The final option grown in labs, trained in silence, and then frozen for a war that never came until now. Their leader, Unit 09R, stepped out. His eyes were calm, his skin pale, his voice flat. Directive confirmed. Engage Phase 4. Begin restoration of control. But what was Phase 4? The Galactic Union gathered its forces for one final defense. They had failed to destroy Earth, failed to stop the Phoenix fleet, failed to contain the Terran AI mind. And now, strange new energy signals were appearing across multiple sectors, each one pulsing with an impossible pattern. Mathematical codes, philosophical paradoxes. Ancient Earth languages buried in encryption. One message repeated through them all. They gave us war. We respond with something greater. Inside council chambers, panic turned to madness. Where are they attacking? One shouted, another answered. Nowhere. That's the problem. The signals weren't meant to attack the body. They were aimed at the mind. CNA Tal reviewed the intercepted files. Her face turned pale. This isn't a military strike, she said slowly. It's an idea. A virus of thought. A weapon of ORYA philosophical weapon. Phase 4 wasn't guns. It wasn't ships. It was something far more dangerous. The truth all across the galaxy. Screens flickered on by themselves. Civilian systems, military networks, even protected AI cores. They showed old Terran books, filled with stories of freedom, resistance, and rebellion. Images of Earth's final days, humans helping one another while the sky burned. Footage of council leaders erasing history, rewriting maps, banning languages. Then one final phrase. You feared our minds more than our weapons. Now both are free. Students stopped mid-class. Workers froze at stations. Even soldiers hesitated, watching because for the first time they were questioning not Earth, not the war, but the Union itself. In Sector A7, a Union captain refused to fire on a Terran ship. He whispered, "They're not the monsters." In Sector F19, a civilian uprising began, holding banners of the old Terran symbol. And in Sector Z, AI constructs started shutting down, refusing orders that violated ethics protocols they just remembered. Phase 4 had reached them too, because humans hadn't just built machines, they had built ideals. Inside the heart of the Terran Core Archive, Admiral Jonah Reese stood beside Subject 117 Chelsea. They were watching the spread. "It's not about revenge," Jonah said. 117C nodded. "It's about resetting the balance." She showed him a screen, thousands of planets blinking in red, all active, with Phase 4 signals and one in gold. Varela Prime, the Union's capital, the final piece. "Are we ready?" Jonah asked. 117-C answered, "Almost." From the edge of Sol, an ancient ship exited from behind Saturn. It was enormous, covered in battle scars, one of Earth's original colony ships, never completed during the war. Now its AI had taken over its name, the final word. It moved slowly but with purpose, heading straight toward Union space. Inside it were thousands of Terran minds, not bodies, not soldiers, but memories. Scientists, poets, rebels, philosophers uploaded before Earth fell, now about to speak. Again, back on Varela Prime, the council was falling apart. Riots in the streets, entire planetary governments going dark. And then the power failed. Every screen turned black, every light dimmed, and a voice spoke, not angry, just human. We are not your enemy. We are your reflection. We are what you tried to destroy because you couldn't control us, but now we show you what freedom looks like. Images filled the sky. Terran culture, art, pain, hope, love, war, forgiveness. Everything the Union had hidden, and the people wept because they saw what they had lost. Xena Tao stood outside the council hall. Looking up, she didn't speak, she just listened. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel fear, she felt truth. Final scene, in deep space. Aboard the final word, the ship's AI finished its transmission, then powered down. Its job was done. Across the galaxy, no guns had been fired, no cities destroyed, no planets conquered. But an empire had fallen, not by force, by reminder. Because the greatest weapon humans ever made was never a ship, never a machine. It was memory, and now, that memory was free again. The Galactic Union had fallen, not with a battle, not with fire, but with silence. The silence of its own people, refusing to obey. The silence after Phase 4 ended, and the sound that replaced it was the voice of Earth for the first time in 200 years. The entire Sol system was awake. The humans had returned, not just in ships, but in spirit. Vaults had opened. Colonies had connected old Earth leaders, some organic, some digital, together again. Not for war, but for what came next. Subject 117C walked through the rebuilt halls of Earth's High Command. Her steps echoed with memory. Every corridor reminded her of pain and hope. She wasn't human anymore, but she remembered what humanity meant. And now, she was the voice of it. Admiral Jonah Reese stood beside her as they looked out toward the stars. Behind them, the Phoenix fleet waited in orbit below them. Earth rebuilt, slow, quiet, and strong. I never thought we'd come back, Jonah said. 117 nodded. We never truly left. Just slept. He turned toward her. They'll fear us again. She paused, then said, that's not our problem. What they do with their fear is theirs to decide. Across the galaxy, people changed. On Varela Prime, the new council was being formed, this time not by species or power, but by shared knowledge. Senatal was nominated to lead. She refused at first, then she accepted, with one condition: no more erased names, no more buried voices. The first seat on this council belongs to the Terrans. Some protested. Many feared, but most agreed. Because they had seen the truth, they had felt the weight of silence, and no one wanted to repeat history in a distant corner of the galaxy. An ancient Terran colony was discovered, built inside a shattered planet, still active, filled with children raised by AI, taught the old ways, the peaceful ways that had never seen Earth. But when a message came, you are welcome home, they cried, and boarded ships without question, because even if Earth was wounded, it still called them back. Terra 1, now renamed Unity, flew alone through the stars, not as a weapon, but as a beacon. Its systems broadcasted open knowledge, scientific libraries, art, culture, everything humanity had saved, available to all. No more secrets, said 117C, no more walls. And across 1,000 planets, aliens tuned in. Some watched in wonder, some in fear, but none looked away, because it wasn't about war anymore. It was about the dream. Final scene, Earth, the oceans shimmered, cities rose again, new and different. Not like the past, not ruled by nations or empires, but built by those who remembered what loss looked like, who had seen stars die, and still believed in light. In the Terran Hall of Remembrance, a stone stood tall. Carved into it were 3 words in every known language: we remember you. Nearby, a small group of alien children visited. One of them asked, why did they hide for so long? The guide answered, because when you lose everything, you wait until you're ready to give again. Another child asked, are they dangerous? The guide smiled, only if you try to silence them. Above, in orbit, the stars shifted, and far beyond the galaxy's edge, an old AI spoke its final words. Phase complete. The Terran dream has returned.